Dear President, colleagues, Gwini Corr, dear friends. Our discussions today took place in the atmosphere of war, and it was very important that we expressed our revulsion to the breaches of international law and the invasion of Ukraine and the necessity to offer the people of Ukraine our solidarity and our assistance. I think we were anxious as well we would not lose what were the great moments of us as heads of state in the Arraiolos Group. We recalled the great moments of hope that we had when we agreed globally in relation to what we must do to reverse the terrible consequences, to seize the terrible consequences of climate change and of sustainability, and how it was important it was that the European publics not be distracted, if you like, from the achievements that are so necessary under those two great challenges. What we were discussing today are a set of interacting crises, be it climate change, be it conflict, displacement, and food insecurity. And in discussing insecurity, we discussed perhaps the most basic security of all, the security of being free from hunger. And in the second session, we took account, for example, of what is happening in the Horn of Africa, which is an example of how those who made least contribution to our climate consequences are in fact actually paying the highest price, with 0.024 of emissions in the Horn of Africa and 36 million people threatened with food insecurity. We also discussed, I think, as to how our different dimensions of multilateralism interact. Those most threatened by hunger and starvation are also 29 countries are threatened by debt dependency, with 16% of what they earn from their meager export earnings going in debt service, and maybe as little as 5% on public health. We're aware of all of these things, that the European Union, if it speaks about cohesion, that we were conscious as well of the price that had been paid for the austerity program, and how the good news was how we had cooperated in conditions of COVID. But globally, that we indeed, as we are the largest responder in relation to humanitarian aid so often, that this is not sufficient, that we have to look at the structural basis of endless food insecurities and repeating famines, and that we must look at issues of monopoly in production and distribution, and examine the conditions upon which we have made so many people, to the point of death, dependent on staple foods for which, in fact, you have no security of supply. I think it was as well, to put simply, that we must get beyond humanitarian responses and have the courage to take the structural changes that are necessary. I think it was a very good meeting, and I think that I very much want to congratulate President Vella and all of those who assisted him in bringing us together, enabling us to discuss these important issues. And I think I must congratulate him on the way in which we were able to get through with a range of opinions and nuanced difference on all of these issues, but very much agreed on what the price that we was being paid for war, and how important it was for us to get to a new place in our cooperation in Europe and internationally.